Well, welcome to O Come, Emmanuel, which goes to Veni Emmanuel, or if you happen to be a Methodist, they didn't call it that in the tune book of the 1933 Methodists, maybe because they didn't like the Latin version, but it's Ephrata in that hymn book. I should have looked it up, seen what that meant. You know the tune. It's played in the minor, then it goes into the major when we get lovely tune. Well, the words to start with, originally in Latin, source 8th century, 9th century. This must be one of the oldest carols, or Advent carols at least, that we ever sing. And of course, the words don't make entirely a lot of sense. That first line, O come, O come. Well, that makes sense. And then the next one, God is with us. Well, he's with us already, and we're asking him to come. But that's the poetry of it, isn't it? O come, Emmanuel. And each of the verses has one of these descriptions of God, scriptural descriptions of God. And of course, Emmanuel is one of the ones from Isaiah. And there are 5 verses. The individual verses are Emmanuel, and then Lord of Might, and then Rod of Jesse, or Root of Jesse, depending on where you get it from, and then Day Spring, and then Key of David. There are 2 other verses. Why are there 7? Well, there were 7 because these were sung in the week before Christmas, one at a time, just before the Christmas day. And so, and they were sung, you can imagine them being sung in a monastery along with the Magnificat and the Nunc Dimittis and so on at the right time. They were called the O antiphons because they all started with O, and the two that are missing are O Sapientia and O Rex Gentium. A little bit of Latin there. The O Sapientia is O Wisdom. I found the Latin for the 2 verses that are missing, and I've duly put it into Google Translate. So what you get out is this. O come, wisdom, what is stated here, and order all things. O come, path with wonder and awe. I can understand that. It's kind of taking away our chaos and turning it into something that is more ordered. Sounds a bit like Dear Lord and Father of Mankind. And then the next verse, O come, King of nations, Redeemer of mankind, bind into one our hearts. And that's a lovely feeling, that is, isn't it? Taking all the nations and bringing them together into one nation under God, which is great. The words, of course, are almost historical as you go through them. They paint a picture from ransomed Israel, mourning in lonely exile, and that does take you back to the exile and the picture of Isaiah and Jeremiah time. O come, Emmanuel, and ransom captive Israel. Bring them back from exile, that mourns in lowly exile here until the Son of God appear. And then, O come, thou Lord of might. We're going back a bit further here. Who to thy tribes on Sinai's height in ancient times didst give the law. We're a picture of Moses' time, only going back another, 500 years, more than that. Can't think of it immediately. And then, O come thou rod of Jesse. Well, that is going a long way back. David, Jesse's son, rod of Jesse, actually root of Jesse, in other words, a descendant of Jesse. Thou rod of Jesse, because Jesus was born in David's town, which is Bethlehem. O come thou rod of Jesse, free thine own from Satan's tyranny. From depth of hell thy people save, and give them victory o'er the grave. Now that's a picture of what Jesus is doing here. O come thou dayspring, come and cheer our spirits by thine advent here. Disperse the gloomy clouds of night. This is a picture of what it's like in winter in a monastery somewhere or another in the 8th century. You can imagine getting your feet warm somewhere. And death's dark shadow put to flight. And then lastly, O come thou key of David, come and open wide. Notice how the key opens. Open wide our heavenly home. Make safe the way that leads on high, and clothe the path. Close the path. I'll get it right in a minute. To misery. It's a lovely, lovely, lovely hymn. And rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee, O Israel. It is all about how that historical picture of Israel maps onto the humankind life today. And as you can call that, come, 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 Jesus, come Messiah, then saying, come, come, come into our world now. It's a picture of the two things going together. The tune was originally, I couldn't find anything else about this, but evidently somebody in 1966 found a copy of the tune as a 15th century manuscript in the National Library of France. And it's only really when the two are connected together in 1851, 1856, these two, the words and the tune fitted together. The words translated from the Latin by John Neal, originally translated, incidentally, did I say this? I can't remember. Draw nigh, Emmanuel. Well, that doesn't go very well. But O come, Emmanuel fits it very well, and it fits that tune perfectly, and it turns it into a jewel of a hymn, an absolute diamond of something to sing at Advent. And so you're going to get that now.